So the last step, the last element of independence that I like to look at is rhythmic independence. And in rhythmic independence, we want to play phrases in one hand over a motor pattern in another. And when I say rhythmic phrases, I'm not thinking so much about pitches, although pitches can certainly enter into the equation. Let's say I've got my eighth note motor going on in my left hand. And I just want to think about some phrases that I can try in my right hand, like just da, 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 da. Try that with me. Da, 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 da. Here we go again. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Here's another one. I'll hold out the first note, so it goes like this. Ready, go. Da, 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 da. And you might be thinking, geez, Greg, that's pretty tough. How do I do that? Well, your hands are going to naturally want to do certain things, like they're going to want to try to play with your first fingers together. Remember that little thumb to pinky exercise we did? If I allow my hands to do that, then I'm never really going to be developing independence between them. So I want to concentrate on doing things where I don't necessarily have correspondence between my fingers. So for example, let's play the second finger on the downbeat instead of the first finger. And that means every time we start a phrase with the first finger on the downbeat in the right hand, we're going to be working on separating that connectedness between the two hands. Because my left hand's going to say, hey, it's time to play one. I want to play it with my first finger. If I play one with my right hand, so that's a nice little one there because I'm taking, switching it up, playing 1, 2, 2, 1, okay? Mixing up the relationship between the left and the right hand. It's all about control. It's all about being able to put your mind on one hand while you're not paying attention to the other hand. And it'll come. You just got to practice these kinds of exercises. Other things to look for when we're playing phrases. Try not to always play a phrase starting on 1. Start the phrase on beat 2 or on the end of 1 or beat 3, just to get out of the habit of always having things start on 1. So even if we're playing a rhythm in our left hand that starts on 1, I want to start a phrase on 2, for example. 1, 2, ready, go, 1. That's the idea. And most bass lines we're going to play are going to be much more sophisticated rhythmically than just these repeated notes. So this is the beginning of the process, to be able to play repeated notes and get that cadence going. So let's say I want to play a bass line that's a little bit more sophisticated rhythmically. And it doesn't have to be much more sophisticated to break things up a little bit. So let's say I want to play G. Phrase against this. Those kinds of things where I'm guiding my hand with my voice. I'm playing a very simple pattern, but it's hard not to mess up that pattern. Like you'll notice when I was going, my tendency was to release that left hand note at exactly the same moment when I released the right hand note. When what I really wanted to do was hold it. See how I'm holding it there? So that's the difference. Those are the kinds of differences that are going to show up when you're trying to work on these different phrases in the hands. Now, right now I'm working on a book that is a series of exercises that will take you through this kind of thing. It doesn't make sense to do that in the video format because it would just take too much time to go through all these different kinds of permutations. But guide your voice, and also remember, work on the left hand as well. Just phrasing, keeping that motor going in one hand, phrasing with the other hand. Okay, let's go back and look at some of those chords in the left hand. We're just going to practice playing some chords in a simple arpeggio pattern, and we're going to move that pattern around to different chords that are related to each other harmonically. So here we have G major, and then we have F major, and then E minor, and G major, and D major. Okay? So I just want to play a little rhythm like this. Let's just stay on that G for a minute and get used to how that feels. Again, you want to notice that my arm is down so that my hand can form the shape of the chord naturally. If you find that your hand is up like this, you're bending your first finger a lot and stretching your pinky out a lot, then you'll know that you want to try to drop the arm down a little bit. You can see that my hand movement is reinforcing that pinky, and I'm not tapping with my foot. I'm not tapping every eighth note. I'm just playing quarter notes with my foot. So there's G. Now let's go to the F now. Ready to go. Let's go down to the E minor, then the C major, then the D major. So here's the pattern like this. Okay. Don't forget with the left hand, when you want to try to play these chords with a sustaining voice underneath, you really want to concentrate on holding that first finger down. And you don't need to try to play the first finger right up behind the fret. You're not going to be able to get your second finger in there comfortably. So back off the fret a little bit. Let your fourth finger come back off the fret a little bit too if the stretch is too much, especially down here by the F. There's no reason to kill yourself trying to play every note right up behind the fret. It's going to sound good, and your rhythm and your phrasing is going to be much more constant and musical because you're able to keep the hand relaxed and use hand movement instead of worrying about getting all the fingers in there with finger movement. If you want to practice that a few times, we're going to be using that to play a melody over in the right hand. So get yourself used to that, practice it hard, and get it down to that kind of a tempo. And you'll be ready to do the next thing that's going to come up after we learn this little melody. So we've talked a little bit about moving the right hand around to different positions. And now what I want to do is to show you how those kinds of choices about where we play the melody are going to influence how the music sounds. This is one of the reasons why it's really nice to know all three of those three-fingered scales so that no matter where you are on the board, you can find the notes that you want to play the melody. And you can also get to the places on the board where the exact combinations of the notes are that you want to use. We're going to start out in the third finger scale position, so that's this one right here. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, do, 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 do. Again, we're using the same Mixolydian scale, but we're not even going to be playing the F, I don't think. And again, you'll notice when I play the scale, my thumb is moving. It's not anchored in one spot. I don't want to have boundaries for my hand. I want to be moving along the line of the string, okay? So here's the little melody. It goes like this. 1, 2, ready, go. It's a very simple melody, okay? And when I want to play it, let's start by playing it against this, just the G major chord. So there's our rhythm. Get your finger on the G. You ready to start? 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, so maybe that's a little fast. Again, you just want to practice that melody a few times and build it up to speed and use that time bass again, left foot time bass, so that you've got a really nice strong roll for your left hand as the accompaniment engine. If you try to do the right foot, this is going to be really tough, trust me. I'm going to start just vamping with the chords. I'm just going to be playing this G major chord. Then I'll count in the melody. So time bass, 2, 3, 4, chord, 2, ready, go. Okay, when I play this melody in this spot, I have some really nice things that I can do. I can sustain certain notes in different combinations. So when I go, I can let those notes ring out. And I can hold out that last pair of notes, the G and the A. Really nice sound. So when I play that over the left-hand chords, 1, 2, ready, go. That gives me an F9 chord because I'm holding out that G, okay? Then when I move to this other chord, the E minor, with the D, that G is really nice, a suspended fourth, or the 11th. So being able to sustain those two notes gives me some different kinds of chordal textures. Now, if I move to a different spot, now I'm going to play that same melody, but starting with the second finger on the root instead of with the third finger on the root. So that's this scale. Okay, so first let's make sure we know how to play the melody in that spot. I want to practice holding out those notes. Do, 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 do. So when I get those to ring over the chords, 1, 2, ready, go. And there I just used a little pull-off trick. So when I was down here in this position, I can't pull off that same sequence of notes. Because when I play the A underneath that B, I lose the B because it's on the same string. So being in this position gives me a different set of pull-offs that I can use, which is a really nice expressive tool. So again, let's look at that with the bass chords. 1, 2, ready, go. I can just throw that little note in up there too, again, because I have the A and the B on separate strings, so that gives me the ability to play them at the same time. And what happens when I play this over these other chords, 1, 2, kind of the E minor go. Different sound than if I played it in the other position. If I use my first finger scale position, I have another different set of notes that I can play simultaneously. Well, I've got that really nice half step between the B and the C, so I'm going to go. Well, listen to what that does to that chord. Not as nice here because I don't get to have the same notes that I can pull off to. What happens if I combine these? Well, I can use lots of different positions to play the same melody. I don't have to stay in the same spot, so I can go like this. Flub the transition there a little bit to go into that C chord, but you get the idea, which is that being able to move around, because I know all three of these keys very, very well, gives me the flexibility to make choices to find the notes I want to find when I want to find them. If I was used to playing certain keys in certain positions and assigning certain fingers to certain notes within those positions, I would never be able to make those kinds of choices. So three-fingered melody gives me the ability to navigate the board fluidly, to make the musical choices that I want to make, to find the notes I want to find in the places I want to play them, and to give me the support notes around them, pull-offs, grace notes, all of those things, which I wouldn't get otherwise. So speaking of grace notes, here's how some of that works. So I've got a grace note by virtue of being in this position. Different grace notes here. So there I've got a grace note B to C. Here I've got a A to B. If I go down to my first finger position, I get different kind of grace notes. So there I've got G to A. Again, being able to move from one position to the next very fluidly, knowing how it feels to play within that position is going to give me the tools I need to arrange the music the way I want to, not just based on what I'm familiar with in terms of what's happening within a given scale position. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video and you get a lot out of it in your practice time. I'll be doing some more on different specific subjects within the free hands method, so keep your eyes open. If you have any questions about this, I hope you'll feel free to drop me an email. And I also do a lot of seminars and lessons via Skype video conference. So if you want to do a lesson that way, please feel free to get in touch. Happy tapping.